Welcome to recap 1. In this recap we're going to do the figure of 8 knot with a locking knot. What we've got here is a boulder like we did outside. It's a nice secure anchor point ready for the knot to be tied. To tie the figure of 8 knot we require enough rope to finish the knot off. Okay, so we'll say this is a very big boulder. We'll wrap the rope around, make an estimation how much rope we need, and we'll say a hypothetical 3 meters. Okay. Once you have that length of rope, this may seem a really childish way to tie the figure of 8 knot, but it is very effective and you will remember it. Okay. So what you do is, you make the loop like so, which is going to be called the baby's head. You strangle the baby with the rope, like so, keeping hold of its neck. With the rest of the rope, you poke the baby in the eye, and then you bring the rope through, keeping hold of the baby's neck. Once you've got that, that'll tie your figure of 8, like so. Once you've got the figure of 8 knot, you're going to wrap the rest of the rope around the boulder, okay, keeping the figure of 8 2 to 3 feet away from the actual anchor point. With the rest of the rope, you're then going to bring it through the back of the figure of 8 knot, okay, following the rope parallel. Okay, so you're basically going to double the knot up. So it goes through the back, then goes over the front of the knot, and then back through, like so. So then going to go round the back, and back through. So the knot's completely doubled up. At that point, give it a little bit of a pull, keep it nice and tight. That's your figure of 8 knot done there. Now, in the outside environment, because there's so much slack on this end of the rope, it's about 3 to 4 feet, hypothetically, this knot will be very, very secure. If you want to make it extremely secure, you can add what's known as a locking knot or a stopper knot in climbing. What you do is, you make the loop, make another loop around the back, like so, and then with the last loop, you bring the excess rope through the back towards the front of the knot. You then drive the locking knot to the back of the figure of 8 or the front of the figure of 8 so it binds nice and tight, and that's your completed knot. The way you know this knot's correct is, again, both ropes run parallel out of the front of the locking knot and not out of the side. And that's recap number 1. Welcome to recap number 2. What we're going to do now during this recap is do the double overhand knot with a waist loop. Okay. With this knot, again, you need to work out how much rope you need. A, to have the correct amount of length of rope for the waist loop, and B, have the correct amount of length to finish the knot off with. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll say an estimated 3 meters again. Okay, like the figure of 8 knot. Okay. So you have the rope there, pull it back through, okay, and this is how you'll tie the knot. With the end of the rope, you loop it around the boulder, like so. You create the first loop, like so, and the shorter end then follows this loop. So again, create a loop that runs parallel like so. So you'll have that design, that shape to begin with. Once you have this, you bring both ropes together, so you should end up with 4 pieces of rope, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 loops. Once you've got this, you just create a simple overhand knot like so. Make sure all the ropes are nice and tight, and that'll give you waist loop. Okay. Once you get inside the waist loop, you can adjust it and get it tighter towards your body by just adjusting the overhand knot. You need to incorporate all 4 pieces of rope and make sure you have the loose end on its own out the other end of the knot. Okay, just make sure it's nice and safe and you've tied the knot correctly. From this position, like we showed you before, you just step into the waist loop and then you can body belay from there. And that's recap number 2. Hello and welcome to recap number 3. During this recap we're going to tie the bowline with locking knot. What we have here again is the boulder or anchor point. We're going to wrap the rope around the anchor point with enough rope to finish the knot off with. I'm going to say 2 meters for this one. What we do, we create the loop like so the loop is facing inwards. The majority of the rope is going under and then over the top like so. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to call this end of the rope the rabbit, we're going to call the majority of this rope the tree, and we're going to call this loop the hole. So the rabbit comes up and out of the hole, it then runs around the tree like so, it sees a fox, gets scared, and then runs back down the hole again like so. Once it's done that, just give it a nice pull, and that's your bowline. Now, bowlines, if the rope moves a lot, can come loose. Okay, so it's very, very important that you put a locking knot alongside the bowline. So the rabbit ran around the tree and then back down the hole. So there should be 2 ropes parallel at the back of the hole there. Okay. It's on this rope that you're going to tie the locking knot. It's very important, not this rope, that rope. Okay, so like we did with the figure of 8, all we do is create a loop, like so, create another loop around the back, like so, and then the rope is going to go up and through the loop. So it's imperative that you make sure the locking knot bites against the back of the bowline, like so. So just move it up, give it a nice pull, make sure it's nice and tight, and that is the bowline with locking knot.